Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Katie Schauer, and I'm the Digital Marketing Specialist here at InSource. You've joined us for the next in our series of Experts on Tap webinars, and I appreciate your time and attention. Before we begin our presentation this afternoon, I would like to just call your attention to a few housekeeping items. We will have the lines muted at all times, so please use the Q&A and chat boxes for any questions you may have during the entire presentation, and we will address those at the end. We are recording today's session, and we will be providing that recording to you and anyone who has registered later next week. We will also be posting things to our website once we have our brand new webinar archive built, so look forward to that as well. At this point, I would like to hand it over to Jason Paquette, who's going to introduce our session.
Thank you, Katie, and thanks everybody for joining us today. Again, my name is Jason Paquette. I'm the marketing manager here at InSource, and I'd like to start out by telling you a little bit about our purpose at InSource's purpose and vision and unifying principles here. InSource is a company with a strong culture, clear sense of purpose, as well as a unique approach to fulfilling that purpose. You can see that in that relevance, in that allows us to establish fit more quickly, knowing our strengths, and that we work best with clients that have similar values and culture. Operationalize digital solutions to deliver transformational results. Our ultimate vision is to revitalize manufacturing in America, and today we're heavily invested in making the industrial digital revolution a reality for thousands of individual companies. We bring Industry 4.0 technology and beyond to the table, and then we add our own secret sauce. We integrate those technologies into their processes and routines. In other words, what's unique about InSource is that we operationalize manufacturing. Next slide, Katie. So the whole purpose of Experts on Tap, this is, I think, our third or fourth week. And really what it is a quick way to dive in on some specific topics that can help you and do it in a short amount of time. We're aiming for 30 minutes. We're going to do this twice a month. If you have any topics that you like us to hit on, please or shoot an email to us. We'd be glad to go through those deep dives with you. So today we're going through, and our expert today is Talley, and I'm going to pass this over to Louis.
Thank you, Jason. So I appreciate everybody taking the time to attend today's session, and I have some great news to announce. I have zero PowerPoint to show you, so we're going to get right to the point. Insight is one of those great tools that doesn't need a lot of introduction. I have some live software I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you some Insight that's actually running in the cloud. So I just sort of want to start with a story. One of the things I really like about Insight, and the reason why I sort of felt that I didn't want to do a PowerPoint, is because of how easy it is to use. I have a customer here in town. I'm based in Richmond, and I helped him get it installed. And this guy has no underwear experience. Helped him get it installed. I showed up on his site. We got it installed. I showed him how to build a dashboard, and within 5 or 10 minutes, I sat back and he was building his own dashboards, sharing them throughout his entire organization. They're using the on-premise version of Insight. There's an on-premise version and a cloud-based version. So just as a testament to how easy it is to use. So he's had no Wonderware training, and he's not reliant on the Wonderware experts to build dashboards. So Insight is a great tool for self-service users to consume data out of. So it's helpful to think of Insight in the cloud as sort of a destination or an endpoint for all of your information that's Wonderware. So I'm going to go through some ways to show you how to get data up to it. So first we're going to start in the portal. So I intentionally don't have anything open. So you access the portal. You guys on the phone here can access this as well. So you can just Google AVEVA Insight. I have it bookmarked. There's a try it for free where you can try it for 45 days for free. I challenge you after watching this demonstration, you'll be able to go and be getting data up to it as easily as I'm showing you now with little risk or no risk really to try it for free. So if you're interested in trying it, now's a great time to try it. Of course, you can always reach out to one of our technical resources and we'd be happy to assist you with that as well. So it's online.wonderware.com is the URL, or you can just Google Wonderware Online or AVEVA Online. Either one takes you to the same place. So I already have an account, so I'm going to sign into it. So one of the things that's neat about it is it's a multi-tenant solution. So you can have, if you're a systems integrator or even if you're an end user, you could have multiple solutions, and the solutions don't share information. So again, think of this as the end point for where I'm putting data into the cloud. So it's hosted in a Microsoft Azure cloud environment, and each environment that you see here is completely independent and doesn't have anything to do. So if a systems integrator wanted to host their own customer solutions, they could do that. So I'll just go through and show you. I think I clicked on the wrong thing here. I'll just go through and sort of briefly show you, and I'm going to come back and spend a bunch more time here in the portal just to show you what it looks like. And one of the first things you'll notice, I like to, as I'm describing this to customers, I sort of describe this as the Google or the Apple experience of Wonderware. So, you know, I remember handing my daughter an iPad when she was 3, and I didn't have to spend any time showing her how to do it. It was just native to her. She understood how it worked. And this is a lot like that. And so that's where I use the Apple term from. And the Google experience is that Google bar that you see there. And so one of the things that you'll notice is you can just start to type things, and Insight is smart, and it says, okay, I'm going to show you things that I think you're talking about. So if you type in temperature, you know, it's going to pull back everything with temperature. You can also tag content, like you might a photo in a social media app or something like that. So you might associate tags with line 1. More on tags later, but it just really makes it easy to find information. So this is sort of the home screen that you see here, and so it's got some suggested content. Another really neat thing about it is this news feed over here on the right. One of the things that this does is once you start pumping data up to this, it starts to learn your data. Now, there's nothing that you do to configure it. You don't turn this on. It's just there. So it's using some machine learning to understand and spot patterns in your data. Very useful for detecting problems, maybe before they're occurring or as they're occurring. So it might notice that some data was higher than usual or lower than usual, or certain data has flatlined here. Again, it's a really cool thing. You don't do anything. You don't even turn it on. It starts to learn your data, and it does its own thing. You don't pay anything extra for it or anything like that. So it's a really simple interface in terms of what you can do here. So let me shift into another solution to show you. I'm going to shift gears slightly here and just show you the next task. We're going to come back here to the portal, but the next task that I want to talk about is how we actually get data to this. So we're going to spend some more time looking at how to, I use air quotes here, customize, because there's not any customization you have to do, but how to configure things like dashboards and stuff like that in a minute. But first, let's focus on how we can get data to Insight, because remember, it's the destination, right? Whoops, sorry. So the first thing that we do, and again, this is, sorry, I didn't say this before, but there's a fully controlled security model here, so not everybody's going to have this administrative access, which is why I switched solutions here, because I'm not an administrator in the other one. So you go into the administration portal. So before you can really begin doing anything, there's a number of ways to get data here into Insight, if you will. So if you're using the Wonderware Historian, I'm going to walk you through an example of how to do that. If you're using the Wonderware Historian, it just natively understands how to send data to Insight. But if you're using something like InTouch or one of our communications drivers, such as a DA server or OI server or IO server, there's a little utility that you'll need to use called the Insight Publisher. Now, this isn't anything extra that you have to purchase. You can see there's some other things here if you're using SciTech, or if you wanted to deploy this in a secure manner, there's a DMZ secure link gateway. So what I'm going to do, what I've already done, is just download the publisher. Now, you can see it downloads. It's really just a simple setup file. Now I'm going to shift into my virtual machine where I've got the Wonderware system platform environment running. And I went through the installation process, but the installation process basically does a couple different things. It puts the DLLs that it needs on there, it puts the executable, and it puts a sample spreadsheet on that shows you how you configure it. So spend a little bit of time talking about how that works. So when you open the sample spreadsheet for the first time, it has several, like 10 different examples in there from how you would configure the Insight publisher to pump data up to Insight. So I'm going to walk you through two specific examples of connecting to InTouch to pull data and connecting to a communications driver known as an OI server or an operations integration server, which is just the OI gateway, the OI simulator. And so you can, I'm not going to spend a ton of time sort of talking through this, but you can, if you're familiar with Wonderware technology, you can sort of think of the way that this spreadsheet operates as how I might define a miniature Wonderware historian. So when I'm running the Insight publisher, I have to tell the Insight publisher how to get its data, right? So all Wonderware technology are both clients and servers. So InTouch is both a client and a server. Our OI drivers and communications drivers are both clients and servers. So the publisher happens to be a client. And so I have to tell it how to get data from InTouch, and I have to tell it how to get data from the OI driver. And so the way that I do that is through, depending upon your vintage and what technology you're using, is something that we might call an access name, which is really, that's the meat and potatoes of what you're looking at right now, what's highlighted. And that's the important part to understand. So basically, you just have to know the computer name where it's running. You have to know the application name. So in InTouch, it's called View, which is just the name of the executable. And then the driver is called, the simulation driver is just called Sim. And then you have to know the topic, which is sort of just a logical grouping of the items as you want to read them back. So you might want to read things back at different intervals or certain data types or something like that. I just describe that as sort of a application developer specific way of controlling how your data comes back. And then the last thing you need to know is what's the address. Now, once you configure all that stuff, there's some optional things that you can configure. You can control things like, you know, how often it gets stored, the type of way that it's stored. So I mentioned it's just kind of like a miniature historian. So for instance, one of the things that this is doing, well, one of many, but one of the things that it's doing is collecting that data first locally, encrypting it, splitting apart in two, and sending it up. So it's sent up separately encrypted. So, you know, it's highly secure. It's used the same technology that your bank probably uses. But if it loses connection to the internet, because remember, Insight, as we're talking about today, is a cloud tool. There is an on-premise tool as well, but this is the cloud tool that I'm talking about. If it loses connection to that for whatever reason, the internet goes down or whatever, it stores that data locally and automatically forwards that up when the connection becomes alive again. So if you're familiar with the Wonderware historian, to draw a parallel, you could think of this as if I'm configuring an IDaaS, although it's not an IDaaS. If that doesn't mean anything to you, that's okay. This doesn't require any licensing to run. So think of this as a simple to use spreadsheet that's going to tell the Insight publisher what it needs to know to get data up to the Insight cloud, right? Now let's look at what our data looks like. So I'm running everyone's favorite demo, the reactor demo. And just to show you, I'm going to have two tags that I'm going to be, and I'm going to do this live on the fly. I haven't done this beforehand. So I've got two tags here. I've got the reactor level, it measures the level of temperature, I think it's the level. I've got the reactor level right here, and then I've got this little simulated tag here that's called my OI sim tag. And if you may remember from the spreadsheet seeing that in there. So sorry, I'm having to shift out of my image. I don't have Excel installed on this image. So those are the two tags that are defined. One's going to come from InTouch, one's going to come from the driver itself. And so I'm going to just copy and paste this spreadsheet into the image because I don't have Excel installed on here yet. And what we'll do is we'll launch the Insight Publisher. Now, it's super simple to use. So, you know, I can either publish something or import something or authorize a data source if I want to add some data from additional ways. Insight is a very extensible tool. So there's lots of ways to get data into it. So if I'm a programmer type, I can get data into it through what's called an applications programming interface or an API. But we don't want to do any of that coding stuff. We want to just focus on the easy way to do it. So this is right now connecting to the Insight Cloud. And so it's going to ask me some questions about where I want to connect and then allow me to define either a new connection or an existing connection. So if you walked away from this WebEx today and you wanted to go do this yourself, you would first sign up for a free trial, then download the publisher from the portal, and then you would be exactly where I'm at. And so I'm going to say I already have an account. And I'm going to put in my super secret password here. And now, if you were paying attention, you may have noticed that I have multiple solutions here. So our roadshow solution is sort of our, I don't want to say our playground, but I've got some neat little tools in there that if we have time, I'll talk about later. So I'm going to give my data source a name, and I'll call this our Insight WebEx. So I can associate I can associate a location to this. One of the neat things about what you can do with this tool, if you want to, is associate a location. So I've got, in our Richmond training office, I've got a temperature sensor hooked up to an Atom IO Ethernet module that communicates via Modbus TCP. And so I'll show you here at the end, I can actually read the temperature in our training room, and it shows up on a map, which is really, really cool. So I can associate a location and a latitude and longitude and stuff like that if I want to. I'm going to skip all that for now. And so now it's going to take me to the portal. So that's it. That's all I have to do in terms of getting the data into the portal. Now, in a little while, the data will start pumping up to the portal. So that's getting data in from InTouch and getting data from an OI server is all done through just importing the sample spreadsheet and going from there. Next, I want to show you how to do it through the Wonderware Historian. So to access the Wonderware Historian, you can get to that a number of different ways. You can get to that through the System Management Console, or depending on which version you have, there might even be a shortcut for that. So you're going to expand out your instance of Historian here. You're going to expand out the configuration editor. You're going to come down here under replication. So you're going to do something once. You're going to add a replication server. And you'll notice that a lot of the screens and everything look very similar, right? So I can put in the URL, which is, I can go back out here to copy it, which is just online.wonderware.com. Sorry, actually I clicked the wrong thing here. And so, again, it's going to ask the same sort of thing that you saw from the publisher. So basically, it's kind of a shell of the publisher. I can give this a new name or an existing name. So let's see. Let's go under that right there. I'm going to share that. So now what I'm doing is I'm setting that up as an endpoint, right? So it's sort of negotiating securely how it's going to actually communicate to the Insight server. So I can go through and specify some of the behavior with how naming happens and how data is sent up to it. Similar to what I configured in that spreadsheet, this is just a more user-friendly way of doing that. Now, once I do that, sorry, I'm going to zoom this in here. Once I do that, I have a little bit more control here as to the way that I do replication. So the Historian, because it's a more of a full-featured product, I can actually go in and you can do what's called simple replication or summary replication. So think of simple replication as fast as I'm collecting it, I'm sending it up to the cloud. Summary replication would be, I want to send up, hourly averages, daily averages, or whatever. I can define my own shift schedule if I want to. So here I'm going to select the, in this case I want to. So the presumption here is you'd already be historizing a tag inside of the Wonderware Historian. So I'll just, pick the, I don't know, production level. It doesn't really matter for the purpose of this, but I'll just pick one and click finish. Now, probably the thing that most folks forget with the Historian, but just a little tip with the Historian, if you were to click back on the status, which is here, you'll notice that the change is pending. So if you've not had a historian training classes, one of the things that the historian does is it has to dynamically reconfigure itself. So you have to actually, if you're using just the historian, you have to actually tell it, hey, I've made a change. I need you to commit that pending change. And so there's a number of different ways to do that. If you click back in the configuration console, which is down here at the bottom, which is where I just was, there's a little icon over here that if you hover the mouse over, it'll say commit pending changes to the database. So think of making changes with just a standalone historian as sort of a two-step process. You have to make the change, then you have to commit the changes. How did that take? Let's see. So it may have already committed them. So it looks like it already took. So, okay, so now at this point, we've sort of configured everything we would need to do from configuring data to be collected from InTouch, from the OI server, from the communications driver, as well as from the historian. So if later I wanted to go add additional tags here, you know, I've got the production level, you could see I could just go back here and add another tag, or I could open the publisher again and you know, modify the existing configuration and add tags in the spreadsheet, or you know, from that perspective, if I wanted to as well. So now let's shift gears. So now we've configured our local image to start pumping data up to Insight. Now let's look at what some of the how I might use some of this inside of Insight, right? So again, I'll go back to the sort of the entry point for Insight, so you can see. Oops, sorry. So let's kind of tour around a little bit, and then we've got 8 minutes here, and I still want to show you one more thing. So I'm gonna kind of zoom through some stuff here. I want to get to how to create dashboards. So one of the really neat things about how this tool works, sometimes the word dashboard can be a little bit scary to think about, but you know, if I type something in and let's say I want to see everything that's, you know, has LIT, a level transmitter or something in it, you know, you can do that. And so this interface is very easy to work around. It's very forgiving. If you mess something up and you want to start over, you can do that here. So this little blue, I always call it a blue button. I don't know the technical definition of what it is, but the whole, you know, the share or collaborate button. But you can share this content as you see it here. Sorry, let me take a step back. There's alternative ways to show this. So, you know, all these things are pre-built. So Insight doesn't, you don't have to spend a lot of time building that. If I want to look at this in a different way, I can do that, things like that. But you know, if I wanted to save this content, what makes this really powerful, close my content. What makes this really powerful is the ability to add keywords. So if I add a keyword to it, the keyword does two different things. It's metadata, so it's data that describes the data that I'm looking at. But what Insight also does behind the scenes is it goes and assembles all those keyword tags into dashboards. So I remember when I looked at this the first time and I was like, I don't really understand how to build a dashboard. You don't really build a dashboard. You can go back after the fact and change the layout of the dashboard, but the system automatically builds the dashboard for you. All you have to do is tag it with keywords. So you might tag this with level transmitter or line 1, right? And you go about your business, you build something else. And now when you're finished with that and you save that, the system automatically goes and assembles all of that content for you into dashboards. So if we go look at some of the pre-built dashboards, what you'll notice is dashboards are really a collection of those display tiles. And so what I was talking about earlier, I can go out here and I can change the content. I'm sorry, I can change the content too. I can change the layout of these. So I can make this stretch and fill the whole screen. But you see down here at the bottom where it says keywords temperature here, these are everything that's tagged as temperature, right? So you know, anytime I tag something with temperature, it would automatically be added to this dashboard. So that's how easy it is, to build dashboards inside of Insight. Now, one last piece I want to show you is the app. So there's the ability to use an app in the iOS store that I'm going to show you. But in order for me to do that, because I'm home, I'm on my iPhone and I'm on a Windows computer, I have this little program here that doesn't let me mirror my iPhone when I'm on my phone. So I'm going I'm going to momentarily drop off audio and connect to the WebEx audio, and hopefully the audio is not too bad. And then I'll show you the last piece of what I wanted to show you, which is the audio. So bear with me 1 second while I do that here.
And while Lewis is doing that, I just want to remind you that we have the Q&A and chat box all set up for you if you have any questions. So feel free to go ahead and enter those now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, actually can hear you quite clearly.
Awesome, that worked great. Okay, cool. All right, so now I've dropped off my Bluetooth on my phone. I'm talking to you through my computer. So now what I probably need to share it, don't I? Yep, sorry, I dropped my share, sorry. Okay, so now, so let's see here. So I'm going to share my iPhone, so bear with me here. Wow, that's cool. Okay, so this is cool. All right, so now I believe you're looking at the iPhone that's sitting on my desk next to me, and I wanted to sort of go through the app. So the thing I really like about the app is the uniformity of the interface and how this is really designed for sort of self-service. So I talked earlier about that training room temperature. So here's that training room temperature. So I literally set this up when my students were working on a lab last time I taught a training class, and it took me on the order of magnitude of, I don't know, 3 minutes to set this up. So there's a map. If you've ever been to our office in Richmond, it's off of Midlothian Turnpike. So there's a training room, and I think it's a little warm in there. It doesn't appear to be that there's anybody in the building. So I can click on that and interact with that. I can go back in time. I can annotate that, set up notes and things like that. I can also set up alerts, right? So if I wanted to add alert, this is one of the things I really like about this. If I wanted to add an alert to something, not that I would do this, but let's say that I'm out on the golf course and I wanted to be alerted when the production value dropped below a certain value, I can set that up in my Insight app, and it's a self-service thing. So it doesn't require our IT department to do that and set that up with any sort of complexity or anything like that. So you get the full capability of Insight from the app. So you can use it either in the what you saw here in the dashboard here. So I could switch solutions if I wanted to, but or I can show you the app. Either one is exactly the same from an interface perspective. So I think that's the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to cover. I think we wanted to allow some time for questions. So Katie, I'll turn that back over to you.
Thanks, Lewis. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to utilize the Q&A or chat box. We have those open for you. And while we're waiting for some questions to come in, if you have any, I just want to remind you that we are recording this, and we will have that for you later next week. And we will also have another Xpert session in about 2 weeks. Look for an email about that as well coming up. And you can always check our website for our events and our upcoming webinars and trainings, so that you can stay on top with that as well. It doesn't look like we have any questions at the moment, but again, if you have any questions at any point, please feel free to contact us via our website. We have a contact us form there that you can use, or you can email us at communications@insourcess.com. With that, I'd like to thank Lewis for his presentation today and Jason for his introduction, and we wish you a good day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks everybody for your time. I appreciate it.